Michael Richey here. I'd like to demo my profile history plugin. This is brand new. It's been kind of floating around some of my sites for a while, but I've just finally packaged it up and turned it into something that I can distribute out to everybody. It is a set of plugins, and if we look at what I've got here, this is what comes with default. The profile history user plugin itself, and then it has 4 basic plugins that are built in with it to handle group changes, basic settings. There's a specific handler to deal with passwords, and then this user profile plugin deals with the Joomla included example user profile plugin, which really I'm including this user profile plugin as more of an example of how you would write a user profile plugin that works with the profile history. So before I get started in how this works, what these specific profile history plugins do is format output. They also manage the changes, how do I describe that? They determine what changes are recorded. So, for example, this profile history password plugin determines what data in the password change is recorded, and that specifically is none. It just records that the password was changed. And the reason, of course, for that is to ensure account security. We wouldn't want someone getting a hold of a database dump and looking at the profile history to find out the latest passwords. All it does is record that a change occurred, and that's why this particular plugin exists. So the profile history plugin records all changes to all aspects of every variable when a user account is saved. So it does that by examining the data that is submitted and comparing that to the data that is currently stored and creating a differential data set. And then, you know, it splits that up based on what and where that data goes, and records it, and then those display plugins help display the more complex data changes. So what I've got here is, of course, my super user, which we're not going to look at, but I've got Bill S. Preston and Ted Theodore Logan as users within the system. We're going to be playing with both of their accounts. The obvious problem with Bill's account is that he is Bill S. Preston, Esquire. So we're just going to save that and hop over here to profile history, and we'll notice that a general profile value was changed because there was no specific data handler for the username or the name portion of the account. So it becomes a general profile value, which is what happens with any piece of data that doesn't have a specific data handler. It is handled as a general profile value. So if you have your own user plugin that stores data and you don't have a data handler for it, that's not a big deal, because it will store it by its name, and it will store in JSON format the data that was submitted compared to the data that it's replacing. So the plugin handles all of your data regardless of whether or not you have a data handler. It will handle it. It just is not going to be pretty. So if you do run across that situation and you want to have your data looking better in these profile history tabs, just contact me, and I will be happy to write a data handler for you. Let's get back here and continue messing with it. So as I mentioned, passwords are not stored, but an indication that the password was changed is stored. So as you see here, 2017-04-27 at 2 o'clock and 54 seconds, super user changed the password. And that's it. That that specific data handler it's one of the simpler data handlers, and the reason is because it doesn't actually handle any data. It sets a value in the database so that we can display this nifty message that the password changed. We do other things too. So I mean, I can make multiple changes. We're going to add Bill S. Preston, Esquire, as an author, editor, and publisher. We're going to change one of his basic settings. He likes TinyMCE. We're going to go to his user profile, and I wish I remembered what the address was from that movie. I'd put it in here. I swear I would. He lives here, and where do they live? Was it Phoenix? Albuquerque or something? I don't remember. They lived in that place. We're going to go ahead and save it, and then hop over here to the profile history. So it handles not just one bit of data at a time. It handles all of the changes you make. So here we changed in basic settings the editor to TinyMCE. In user groups, the user was added to author, editor, and publisher. User profile, address 1 and city were changed. We can go back in here. And make a couple more changes. He wants to use the default editor now, and he would be better served if he was an administrator. We'll save that. And again, it shows that the editor was changed. User groups, he was removed from author, editor, and publisher, added to administrator. And the address was again changed, and so was the city. And it's just a rolling history of all changes that occur to these accounts as they're being edited. And the reason that I wrote this is because I manage sites just like you, and on a lot of those sites I'm the only person that's managing them. They're just my personal projects or sites that I manage for people who don't know how to manage their sites or don't want to manage their sites. But there are others where I am one of many admins that operate within the back end. And if that's not something that you have dealt with, then let me tell you, it sometimes becomes the Wild West. Someone will go in and make a change, and no one remembers who or why or when it happened. And that's why I wrote this plugin, so that at some point, when someone doesn't remember that they did something, you need to track it back and find out who disabled that account, who changed that password, who changed that email address. You could go into the profile history plugin and look and see who did it. And this works not just for admins. It doesn't work in just the back end. It works in the front end too. If a user makes a change to their own account, the profile history plugin will log that change. So at some point in the future, when a user calls up and says, I can't log in anymore, you can look at their profile history and say, hey, last week you changed your password. Do you remember what that was? Well, no, of course I don't. And you reset it for them, and now they're on their way. There's no arguing. You can just tell them, look, our system logs all of your changes, and it says that you changed that last week. You changed your email address. You changed your whatever. It could even be used to recover accounts. You could find out that somebody made a mistake and deleted something from their account. They really need this back. You could go back and recover that using the profile history. You'd have these logs that display this information. And it even goes so far as to create a record when an account is deleted. It does not delete the record of changes for that account. It actually adds a final record that indicates which admin deleted the account. Or, I guess, if you're running a plugin that allows users to delete their own accounts, it would log that too. Basically, the user who initiated the delete action is recorded in that, and that would become, I guess, the tombstone record for that account, that the account was deleted on whatever date. And all of the record of changes would still exist. And along with that deletion record, it includes all of the settings within the user profile. So It's almost like a user archive final death note for that account. So this was something that I wrote for myself to handle my own problems with website admin, and I hope that it is beneficial to you in all of your